Good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Robert Henning. I'm the director here at the Rockpile Museum, and I'm so glad to see a lot of new faces here tonight. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. Welcome to everybody watching online. We have Facebook and YouTube viewers with us tonight. So if your friends from class decided not to get extra credit, make sure they watch on YouTube afterwards. Tonight's presentation, we'll start here in a few minutes. I have just a few announcements first. Before we begin, in 2 weeks will be our next event here at the museum, October 19th at 6:30. Mr. Dave McKee from the Fort Phil Kearny Bozeman Trail Association will be here to talk about the history of the Bozeman Trail, as well as their effort to make the Bozeman Trail a National Historic Trail. So that's very exciting news. So come out on October 19th. That presentation will be 6:30 p.m. Also, the Rockpile Museum Association is hosting their Antique and Craft Bonanza on October 22nd and 23rd at Camplex Central Pavilion. So please head out there. That is a free event. You can attend and enjoy the antiques, peruse the crafts for sale, and of course, get some early Christmas gifts. In conjunction with that, they are raffling an entertainment package, a 70-inch TV, a sound bar, and a streaming service. Funds for a streaming service. So you can get those tickets over at the Museum Association table if you're interested. $50. Sandy and Wayne will help you out with that. Also, you can find out about the Museum Association and the great work they do to help the Rockpile Museum. So check them out. Consider becoming a member, please. All right. So Mary Kelley is with us tonight. Mary and her family have called Gillette home since 1994. Since her arrival, she has poured herself into learning the history of our community and sharing that history with others. Mary volunteers hours upon hours serving with the Campbell County Historical Society, the Wyoming State Historical Society, and the Gillette Historic Preservation Commission, among other community efforts. In addition to authoring a wonderful downtown history tour, she has now written 3 books about local history for Arcadia Publishing. Her first 2 books are Gillette, published in 2010, and Coal in Campbell County, published in 2013, both of which are available in the museum gift shop. So please check those out. We are pleased to welcome Mary tonight to talk about her 3rd book, Campbell County, Past and Present. Please welcome Mary Kelley.
Thank you. It is great to see everybody here tonight. I'm so glad your teacher offered to give you some extra credit if you come and learn a little local history. Have you guys all lived here most of your life? Yeah? And do you know a whole lot about Gillette and Campbell County? No. Did you take the 3rd grade downtown walking tour? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you know more than a lot of folks, more than some. So let's see here if I can figure this out. There we go. So after my 2nd book, I said, don't let me write another book. Okay? It's not happening. The first 2 books were more difficult to put together than this book. This 3rd book was the easiest of the 3 because I had total control over the photos. I worked with the Rockpile Museum here and also with the city of Gillette for some of the older photos, and then I took all of the new photos. So I didn't have to wait on somebody to go through the box of pictures in their basement, or I'll get back to you with that picture, Mary. So I really enjoyed putting this 3rd book together. There we go. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just a little wet. That's why we don't have drinks on the podium. But anyway, did you get that on the internet too? That's on YouTube. So the Past and Present series is photos of, thank you. Is that a diaper?
Towel.
Okay.
I have some.
I know.
They're very absorbent.
They are. They're great. Yeah, I remember. The past and present series is a series that has an old photo and the exact same location today. And it didn't have to be something where the old photo was 100 years old. It could be 5 years old and then what it is today. But it needed to be the exact location. And you'll see in some of these that was a little challenging. The first chapter talked about the quality of life, that some of us really, really think Gillette is a great place to live. And you kids will too at some point. You'll go away to college and then you'll think, hey, it's not so bad back there. So this chapter is about the quality of life, the great things that we have here in Campbell County. As you can see, the old slide from the old swimming pool at the old rec center on Highway 59. And that was torn down, and now that same area is parking and kind of front yard for the legacy. I put in a few empty lots, but I didn't want a whole book full of empty lots, which would have been pretty easy to do. Either there was something there back in the day, and now there's nothing there, or there was an empty lot there in 1964, and now there's a building or a park or something there. I didn't want a whole book full of empty lots, and it would have been easy to do. For this one, Campbell County acquired this 12-acre site in 1990 for a new park. A citizens group named it Lasting Legacy for Gillette's Centennial 100-year celebration. A lot of people on this side of the room remember the Armory. Yep. And of course, Lasting Legacy Park right now, lots of fields, playgrounds, trees, all that good stuff. This pair of pictures I almost put on the front cover. I ended up putting the Dodd House or the Goings and the rail yard on the cover. Arcadia sent me a sample cover with these two pictures on it, and also the one that I ended up with, and I just liked the other one better. This one that I went with, which is downtown, currently the rail yard and the Dodd House. But I really, really loved this picture just because of what this says right here. Look at this. Whoops, heads up. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees. When was the last time you could count the number of trees at Dalby Park? It's been a while. And then this was a wooden suspension bridge that I guess a lot of boys scared a lot of girls by rocking that bridge. You wouldn't have done that. No. You, sir, in the second row, you wouldn't have. No, of course not. But the fact that it looks like this today, you know, this bridge was just renovated in 2020. But look at the number of trees. You know, it's going over the same body of water, but look at the number of trees. This pair of pictures just shows such a huge difference in the aesthetics of what we have here in Campbell County. This is the first McDonald's that we had. So this picture at the top here would have been in 1978 when it was being built. This first building was raised and rebuilt in 2019, and it was rebuilt as this building. But there was a time there was nothing there. You could see the interstate up here.
I remember.
Was there? So it looks like there's an exit here where this truck is. Was there an entrance ramp here?
Yeah.
Entrance
shop the same place as now.
Is it? Okay. It just didn't look like it in the picture, but I figured it had to be there. Yep. And that second location over on the west side opened in 2013. Chapter 2, a county grows out of the prairie. So this is box elder. Doesn't that look like box elder today? No. Looking east from 4J, so 4J is running this way. 1977, it was a dirt road.
Cut across.
What's that?
Live in the cut across, which is a big way. Box elder, I don't think we looked at that.
Really?
I could be wrong.
You're right. Somebody showed me a picture of cut across some time ago, and it did look like that, but the city has this one marked as box
You
elder.
might be right, I don't remember that. It's been a few years.
It has been a few years. It's been since the 70s. At that time, the population here was about 14,000. The county was booming with the coal mines opening at that time. And then, of course, what we have here today. And that one's going to be worked on next year. That'll be a treat. Once we get Lakeway done, then we're going to start on box elder.
I don't think that's cut across. I don't see the interstate. They're outside the interstate.
Two of many of the Gillette banks. Wyoming National Bank opened in Gillette in 1975, but from 85 to 88, it operated as Norwest Bank as a franchise. And Wells Fargo opened in 1974 during one of our most significant boom periods. Almo truck stop. And then Husky, and now Thunder Basin Ford. Almo opened in 1953. And then, let's see, owner Bill Wintermute Sr. It became a Husky in 1958. And then currently, Vic Toscana owns Thunder Basin Ford, pretty much next door. Who remembers Gypsy Will's RV park where dogs, kids, and long hairs are allowed? Because there were times and places when long hairs weren't allowed.
Yeah, well, they were the hippies.
In the 70s. I know, I was one. So the population boom happened so fast that the city and the county couldn't keep up with the infrastructure. So the RV parks and tent cities kind of just sprung up wherever. In 1978, Wyoming Machinery opened here. You can see that same butte in the background there. What was that? Does that have a name? Antelope Butte. Thank you. It's good to know these things. But just along 59, it was just a trailer park where dogs, kids, and long hairs were allowed. So, chapter 3, riches from the land. Water was worth its weight in gold. Burlington Lake was created by the Burlington Railroad to provide water for the steam engines and also for the residents here in Gillette, and also to water the stock before it went down to the stockyards and was loaded onto a train. Kids learned to swim in that lake, and the lake was dredged several times so that it would hold more water. And of course, it's still there today. It's now a wildlife habitat for waterfowl. And they actually have a couple of islands that are out here. They're over to this side of the picture that are used a lot by migrating birds. A lot. Wool warehouses by the tracks. Were you aware that we still have a wool warehouse? Yeah, some.
I was not aware of it. It surprised me.
Yeah. I think we have one. The first George Key line. Let's see George Key line right there. The first George Key line died in 1900. He was in his 70s. In his will, he said that his family would never run sheep. A couple of years later, George was gone. His descendants decided that sheep were a good investment. And so they went into the sheep business, became very successful, and they needed a wool warehouse alongside the railroad. So right there, that's probably another one for a different company right there. This is a freighter with a sheep wagon here. Lots of wool in bags there and all kinds of horses to pull that train. And those buildings were torn down to make way for parking for the railroad and other buildings along the railroad tracks. And you can't talk about riches from the land without talking about coal in Campbell County. And when I chose this picture, I actually asked the people at Belle Ayr to see if they could find the same hole where this picture was in the 70s. And this is what's there today, which is a great testimony to reclamation. You know, when a company starts mining, they have to file an economic impact statement and an environmental impact statement. And they also have to file a reclamation plan. How are you going to put the land back together the way it was before you ever started mining once you're finished? So evidently, a nice slope, a little pond over here is either the way that it was before they started mining or the way that they thought would be better. But it's kind of cool because you can see the two silos here and a few more than two silos over here. So where this was, and people from outside the area really struggle with this. You know, they think it's always going to look like this. And where this was is now all reclaimed and productive land. Westside Elementary to Equality State Farms. So Westside Elementary, not there anymore. It started as, as Alternative Transitional Center. Then it became Westwood High School. In 2014, we built a new Westwood High School over on the Gillette campus, over on the south side. The old Westwood was demolished and Matt Walker started growing produce. And it kind of came about from the pandemic when things were short of supply. And he thought it would be best if we could grow a lot of our own things here and make them available locally so that we weren't without things during the pandemic. So great reason, great product, and he sells to the school district. You kids eat some of the things that he grows, and he also sells to our local restaurants. Now he's just using the land. He doesn't own it. School district still owns this land, but they said he can use it as long as he needs to and until they decide what they want to do with that land. But nice use for it. Have you seen the pumpkin patch that's next to Espresso Lou? Lots and lots of pumpkins in there. Yeah. Chapter 4, the suburbs. Okay, well, we don't really have suburbs, but I thought that was a good name for some of the outlying towns around us here. Spotted Horse. Has everybody been to Spotted Horse?
Well, buy it.
Buy it, yes. Yeah, yeah. You didn't stop? Oh my gosh. So they have this really cool, heads up, they have this really cool old school here that started out like this, just a regular one-room schoolhouse. Let's see, that first picture is in the 1920s. It was before I-90 was built. So after the interstate was built, excuse me, the city kind of, the business kind of went away from Spotted Horse. It was a thriving community, a lot of people, a lot of children at one time, but I-90 took those people away from Spotted Horse. Today, the only things there are a bar and an abandoned school building. And actually, this school building is two buildings put together. When they were booming, they started with this building, and then they brought a second school over to it and attached it somehow. This is this building, this front part, and then they added a second school onto it in the back there. And that was literally to accommodate all the children in Spotted Horse. It's a neat town. And how many of our founding families homesteaded just east of what would be the county line? Before 1911, Moorcroft and Gillette were in the same county. That past picture is in 1936. And of course, the new picture is 2020, 2021, probably 2020. Hopper's Bar over here is the only building still surviving from 1936. So people that moved, that homesteaded out here in Moorcroft, you know, at one time they were all part of the same county, and then we divided, and they were in a different county. They weren't in Campbell County. The Wrights in Gillette. This picture, I wish that front tree was gone so I could see that pretty house.
It is.
It is gone. That's true. The pretty house is gone too. Come on.
Well, you said it was.
I know, I wish it was gone. The Wright family lived here at 4th and Gillette Avenue back in the day. Bill Wright was the mayor of Gillette and a representative in the legislature, and he served on many local boards. Excuse me, the Village Square Mall is there today at the same 4th and Gillette Avenue at this corner where this house used to be. It's pretty cool, yes?
Is that why Wright is called Wright?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Gosh.
It was their land that was used to build the town when the coal mines were opened south of
There
town.
was nothing but a gas station. Everybody laughed at it when they built a town. That's crazy.
And they had a post office for quite a while.
And then now look at the town. But at the time, everybody thought that's what they built.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But with so many mines being south of town, they thought it'd be good to have a town so they didn't have to come all the way back to Gillette to live.
Reno Junction.
Yeah, Reno Junction, yeah.
Railway stretch.
Yeah.
That's what he talked to.
Yep,
Yeah, it's too bad you can't see the house.
I know.
Because apparently it was quite a.
It was a good house.
Got any pictures?
I will look, but.
I am not waiting on anybody to give me pictures.
I would have bet against the big look office you take
Gentleman Jim Wright's home there?
What's that?
Was
Yeah.
that gentleman Jim Wright's home there?
Yeah.
at one point?
Right.
Gentleman Jim?
Jim Wright.
Jim Wright.
Oh, okay.
He's actually the gentleman, Jim Wright, that owned the house. Jim Wright was the person.
Well,
And then Ollie Kane, County,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Ollie Kane lived there, yep.
she's
Yep.
related to the Wright family.
Yep,
Yeah, she was.
yep, she was a Wright, yep, and Rachel,
And the Marcus.
yeah, the Marcoses, yeah. We have several Marcoses right here, what do you know?
That's small town daily, Marcus.
Got some roots,
Line.
got some roots. Wright Centennial Museum. This opened July 1990 as a small building here. It was tied into the celebration of the Wyoming State Centennial. And then the large building was added in 2012. And if you haven't been out here, this part is obviously still there. That's where you go in. Lots of artifacts from pioneer days, homestead days, things that you would have found in kitchens and bedrooms and old stoves and all kinds of neat things that show the way they used to live. And then this part, they have lots of wagons, buggies, farm implements, things like that. So they needed that big building, and they've got it pretty well filled up. And then they've got a haul truck over here, which is always cool. Always great to have your picture taken in front of a haul truck.
That's small.
Yeah, yeah. That's why they could do without it probably.
No, I'm sure, yeah, that would be way too small as well.
Chapter 5 was essential services. This road is Butler's Faith. And one of those things that that you don't think about when you move here or when you grow up here is why would they name a road Butler's Faith? But there were two ranchers, two homesteaders. Let's see, George
Butler and Ernest
George
Space.
Butler and Ernest Space. There we go. Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Well, what a great thing for somebody to do to put that on there.
Yeah.
Okay, COVID brain.
We'll
My
let you-
excuse for
We'll
everything.
let you get away with it.
Thank you. So, this road is named after George Butler and Ernest Spaith. The story goes that the very first house in Campbell County was on Ernest Spaith's ranch. You can argue that, but that's the story.
First house in Campbell County.
First house in Campbell County. I didn't make that up.
I have a question on that too.
I figured you might. So St. Matthew's outgrew their downtown building, moved up here to Butler's Faith. Let's see, the old picture was in 1977. The new one, probably 2020. You can still see a little bit of that tower right in there, that tower. But otherwise, yay, we have trees. Carl Cook. Does anybody know the story of Carl Cook?
You know that murder?
What's that? Murder? No.
That's the one.
No.
No.
Somebody else got murdered.
World War I. Fighting on the trenches.
He was killed in World War I. Interesting story. He was born in 1892 in Iowa, and he was drafted at age 25 from right here in Gillette. He died on July 15th, 1919. So he was 26 years old, hadn't been in the service all that long. He was buried in a mass grave on Flanders Field in Belgium. In 1921, his body was finally shipped home to lie in state at the county courthouse before a grand burial at Mount Pisgah, attended by hundreds of mourners who came to say goodbye. The local VFW post had already adopted his name as a memorial. So that's Carl Cook VFW post. 2 years later, in 1923, a mistake came to light. Cook's body was actually discovered in another battlefield grave and sent home for its rightful burial in Gillette. The unknown soldier in Cook's grave, whose burial had been celebrated by hundreds of strangers, was returned for further identification. Pretty sad, pretty strange. But look at the difference in the cemeteries, the condition, the landscaping, the aesthetics. So this was Carl Cook's original headstone. And then this, I believe, is his headstone today. But since I had to take the picture from the same direction, I had to get the back of the stone. But that is a sad looking cemetery there.
Like those old westerns.
Looks like what?
The old
Oh,
westerns.
yeah, Boot Hill. Yeah,
It was.
yeah.
An accurate depiction.
Inspiration Gardens. In 2010, the cemetery trustees wanted a way to extend the life of the cemetery. So by removing 320 burial plots, they created 3,382 urn chambers and 24 burial spots. So whereas before they just had burial spots like this, Now, it's not in this picture because that picture was specific to this location. But if you've not been up there, you really need to go. It's a beautiful place with fountains and rocks and engraved memorials and all kinds of neat stuff. It's a really beautiful cemetery. So they really extended the life of the cemetery. And they also have a Unity Garden along 8th Street. So this is at the top of the hill inside, and then there's a similar garden, a little bit smaller down by the road. Transitioning to a real hospital. I bet this was a big to-do in Gillette in November 1977.
Yeah, there are a lot of cement shortages that out, tear a bunch of that out and build it back up several times.
Yeah, footings being poured. Pretty much nothing out here, but footings being poured. Let's see here. Footings were poured November 1977. Construction was completed 1981, 18 months behind schedule. 27 patients moved from the old hospital on 8th Street in 1.5 hours in February. The doors officially opened at noon, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1981. And I think I have I have a picture of the building that used to be the hospital.
Did they tell you how much cost overrun was on that?
I didn't write it down.
No, I just asked, because I know during a cement shortage at that time, they got several times that floor that cement, they had to tear it out, put it back up.
Oh, wow.
That's why it was 18 months behind schedule.
Oh, is that why? Yeah. Well, better to have good cement, I guess. Huh? It's still standing. Yeah, that's good. Educational opportunities. This was a fun one. This picture is from the Wyoming State Archives of the Consolidated School in Rosette. The first Rosette School was built in 1917. It was a one-room building west of the current school. The high school was added in 1919. Notice the covered wagons over here and over here. Those were the school buses. Probably a little chilly in the winter. And that would be the extent of the kids going to school here. The first school was where Ruff's Bar is today. And I went out there to talk to Norma at the bar about the history a little bit. And these pioneer ranchers were sitting there having lunch, and I said, why don't you come on out here and I'll take your picture for the book. And they were happy to do it. Alden Reynolds, Chuck Reynolds, John Fowler, Mary Carnegie, Gary Tharr, and John Reynolds in 2020. That's a neat picture. An empty lot that became the new Stocktrail Elementary. So this was the site of the original Stocktrail Elementary, which is just about where the Stocktrail used to be, where they would trail the cattle down to the railroad to put them on the trains to ship them to market. The groundbreaking for the new building was in 2015. That two-story design was very unique to Campbell County. We didn't have any two-story elementary schools before this. And this is one of our two schools, along with Rawhide, that offers the dual language immersion classes in Spanish. So they teach some children, if they choose to be in that program, they teach them in Spanish all of their classes for half of the day and in English for the other half of the day. So, by the time these kids are in 4th, 5th grade, they're probably fluent. It's got to be amazing. And this is a really pretty schoolhouse. This is at Kendrick between 3rd and 4th. In 1912 to 1924, it was a high school. And then the high school moved down to where Twin Spruce is. So this just became an elementary school from 1924 to 1935. In 1935, the school district discontinued using it as a school. And they did use it as some county offices from 1935 to 1960. It was torn down in 1960, and the post office that's there today was built in 1976. So that same location, I think that's a really, really pretty school building.
Yeah.
Making good use of those old buildings. This was what I had mentioned to you about. This was where the old hospital used to be. These buildings were used as the hospital. 1981, the old hospital on 8th Street closed. 1982, Northern Wyoming Community College signed an agreement to use the emergency room and the radiology rooms for nurses training. Additional areas of the old hospital were used also. They were renovated and used shortly after that, and as well as any other available space in the city for college classes. So obviously the college was really happy to get their campus because they were working out of this building and that building and that building and that building and whatever was available. And now Cottonwood Terrace apartments are right there in the senior center. But we used it for a long time. Chapter 7, Downtown Gillette. This house was built in 1909 by William McComiskey, a clothing merchant. The house was moved in 2016 by Mike Cody, who has a ranch outside of Rosette. And he is renovating it, trying to bring it back to the way that it looked originally. He had called Christina Williams, who bought this building, who built her law office here. And he said, will you give me the house if I get rid of it for you? And she said, yes. And so he put it up on a flatbed and took it out of town. And Christina built her law office there. Big, huge building. It is. The Oddfellows Hall was built in 1919. It was a place where they had traveling road shows and dances in the 1920s to the 1950s. The 30s were pretty crowded as the CCC boys, the Civilian Conservation Corps workers, came to town for a little fling after they had worked hard all week putting out coal fires. In 1921, the telephone company installed a switchboard on the second floor, so they were operating out of the second floor for the telephone company. The building was raised in 1978, and Ida Sneed has been here since 2008. Right there. And it's kind of neat. This is real close to the 3rd Street Plaza, which just comes out this way. And so Ida's parking lot and area can easily be part of any functions that are downtown on the 3rd Street Plaza. It just sort of continues into her parking lot, which is great. Hello. One of my favorite stories. This was the Rodman Hotel. You can see some construction right over here. You can see a building right here that is Stockman's Bank that's still here today. It was Crazy Woman Mercantile. Now it is Molly Jean Boutique. And it's neat that they saved that building. Look at that. It's almost identical to the way it was back in the day. So they wanted to build Stockman's Bank here on the corner where First Interstate Bank is. And a gentleman named Ike Hayden owned this hotel. And they asked Ike if they could buy his building and tear it down to make room for the bank. And Ike said, I will sell you my building knowing that you're going to tear it down as long as you promise me that there will always be a barber shop in the front of the building. Because Ike was a barber and he had a barber shop, and you can see his barber pole right there. So Ike had a barber shop in the front of his hotel, and he said, I'll let you tear my building down as long as you promise me that there will always be a barber shop in the front of the bank. And to this day, there is a barber shop in the front of the bank. And that was just a gentleman's agreement, wasn't written down anywhere. They shook hands on it. Mitch Maycock told me that story.
Yep.
I love that story.
Ike's quite a person, quite a character.
Yeah.
He pretty much worked that till he died, didn't he?
He did what?
He worked at that barber shop till he died.
Till he died, yeah.
He was quite old when he died.
Yeah. Well, this was the Chamber of Commerce building, and then this was Stockman's Bank, and they had outgrown that, so they started to build over here, but they needed this space, so they tore down those two, and we have this big, huge building, our tallest building with 7 floors today. One of several buildings originally built as a one-story. First National Bank opened September 10th, 1963. The population in Gillette was about 3,000 people. They had planned to expand the old building, so they dug a basement south of the original building. Unfortunately, the foundation from the old building fell into the new basement. And so they ended up having to demolish the old building instead of just adding on to it. So they tore that old building down and they built the new one-story building in 1969. And in 1983, they expanded it to the 3-story building that you see today. So First Interstate building was built as a one-story building, and also First National was built as a one-story building. And there was a lot of growing going on, and they outgrew their space and went up. Another one of Mary's favorite stories. Wyoming Hotel. In 1934, the Wyoming Hotel was over on the southeast corner of Gillette and 3rd. So it's where the old post office is today, where Gillette Brewing was. The feds wanted that corner for a post office. And this was in the mid-30s, 1934, I guess, when they started. They wanted that corner, and this building was owned by the Wright family. And they moved the building across the street, kind of catty corner across the street. And that's where it is today. Back here, there's a chimney back there, and there's a roof line that looks like a house roof line as opposed to a business building. But the story goes that when they got ready to move the building, Gillette Avenue wasn't paved, and it was kind of crummy weather. It was wet and rainy and muddy. And when they tried to move this building across the street, it got stuck in the mud in Gillette Avenue. And it had to sit there for a few days until the weather dried up enough that they could move it the rest of the way across the street. I love that story. Somebody has a picture of this building in the middle of Gillette Avenue, and I want it. Okay, just so you know. If you have a picture of the old Wyoming Hotel in the middle of Gillette Avenue, stuck in the mud.
What year was that?
Mid-30s, because the old post office was built in 35 or 36. Yep, love that story. And now it's Consolidated Engineering. But if you're walking downtown and you're across the street, say over by First National Bank, look across the street there, you can see that chimney that's, looks like a house instead of a business building. Dead giveaway. Trying to get the right shot. I had to take some pictures over and over to get the shot from the right angle before Arcadia would accept it. This was one they sent back to me. This was the high school football field where the Twin Spruce football field is today in 1938.
Looks just the same.
Yes, it does. A little scruffy maybe, but there's a school right over here. But I kept trying to get that same angle, and they sent it back to me and said that you need to keep trying because you don't have the same angle. So I took, I don't know how many pictures I took, trying to get that same angle, and finally
They
ended
don't
up.
know, these are long landscaping pins now, so it may not be the same.
Yeah, could absolutely. Yep. Spotted Horse Elementary. That was a one-room schoolhouse, and then they had put the second building on, but I wanted to get the door here that was here, so I had to take a lot of those pictures. Spotted Horse Bar is actually very similar to the way it looks today. I think I ended up going across the street, which is just an empty field, and taking some pictures. Close, but no cigar. It had to be great for Arcadia to accept it.
Where's that at?
Spotted Horse?
Oh, is that in Spotted Horse?
Yeah, it is. Yep. Pretty busy with motorcycles during Sturgis. The Dodd House. So this is a totally different building than the rail yard today. The Dodd House started out with the Dodd family opening their home for boarders, as a hotel. But then this building went away. That one opened in 1906, by the way, or 1902, sorry. Totally different building. So we had to try to get that angle, but this building. And they did finally accept one. Oh, a few more. I have lots of pictures of the rail yard if anybody needs them. Some of the pics that didn't make the cut. Who knew that they would put a restaurant made of storage containers in that little bitty area there that's almost like an easement along 2nd Street. I would have had to take a picture of an empty lot. And I really didn't want a whole lot of pictures of empty lots. Another, what would have been an empty lot, Gillette College soccer field. This was finished in August of 2019. But for such a long time, it was just dirt. It was just an empty lot. If it wasn't for the rec center next door to it here, you wouldn't know where this is.
It's still too long.
Another empty lot. And also timing on this one. The Wyoming Innovation Center groundbreaking was June 7th, 2021. So timing was not good. The book was finished by that time, but it was also a very empty lot. It's along Garner Lake Road, kind of close to Dry Fork Station. There's literally nothing out there. But when we have some nice buildings out there, oh gosh, that sort of sounds like book 4. So what they're building here is new coal-based processes and products will be produced, experimented with, whatever in the buildings that they're putting up at this location now. So people who have innovative ideas of what to do with coal or with CO2 or with ash can come out to those buildings and try their products out. Ooh, nice typing there, Mary. That's timing. Timing. It was perfectly fine when I checked it today. So February 2021, they were tearing down the elevator and some of the other structures here at the Farmers Co-op along First Street. So timing was a problem there too. I think I had to have all my pictures in by December. But this was built in 1960, and it was really neat coming down. I took a million pictures of it coming down, so it would have been timely. It would have been good to put in the book. Wish I had put it in the book. Nick Carter's house. This is 210 Ross Avenue. They had an open house in April of 2021. They have the house here and a carriage house back here, and then a kind of a courtyard in the center. If you've not been in there, it's pretty neat. Jeff Wandler owns this now, who has the Frontier Auto Museum. So he has it as an Airbnb. So if you want to go tour it, it's pretty neat. They decorated it all Western inside. I didn't know there was a good picture of the original house until too late to put it in the book. But with the Gillette Historic Preservation Commission, we've been given some surveys of early homes here in Gillette and pictures from the 1950s. And they did have a picture of this house in those surveys, and just a little plain, nothing, white, simple building, that would have been a neat picture to put in there before and after. Another empty lot behind Ribbon Shop. Highmark Credit Union is building there, and now of course the building is up, still not finished, but and likewise the patio that was added in 2019 to the rail yard would have been a picture of a parking lot. The Mountain States Telephone Building, this is at 4th and Gillette Avenue. Been empty in the front here for a while, but still used by the telephone folks back here. This is where James Tanham's house used to be. James Tanham was a Civil War veteran. He was Roy Montgomery's stepfather, Roy that managed the Montgomery Bar. So it was a cute little house that was here. But I don't think I could find an early good picture of it. I think there was just one in the newspaper that didn't copy so well. So I didn't have a good early photo of the house that used to be there. That would have been a good one. And another one I wish I'd put in. The old original Bank of Gillette. What a beautiful, majestic building that is now Pat's Hallmark. They've changed the front a little bit, and they've changed the front just enough that it might not qualify to be put on the National Register of Historic Places. But that is a beautiful building. For Little Gillette, Wyoming. That is a beautiful building. So, don't let me write another book, please. I don't know what I would write on. We've kind of covered most everything. Oh yeah, that's true. Wish I had book. Wish I had put this in the other book's book. Okay, I got to. See, I got to start. Heaven forbid. Anybody have any questions about anything? Yes, Mr. Daly in the third row there.
There were two hospitals before the one on 8th Street.
Oh, okay, sure. McHenry and
Hoadley.
Hoadley, okay.
And Hoadley one still exists.
Yeah, the Chamber building, the Chamber of Commerce? No, that was Dr. Hannum and Dr. Hoadley's office.
Between Warren and 2nd Street.
On Warren,
So the pawn shop is
Oh.
behind it.
okay, yeah. Yeah, that stone building. Yeah, and we've tried to go in there and take pictures, and they've got it divided up into apartments, and it was for sale for a long time, and they wouldn't let us go in there because there were people still living there. But Historic Preservation wanted to go in and take pictures of it.
Henry Hospital was down between 1st and 2nd Street.
Kendrick?
Was that Richard?
Kendrick?
Campbell County.
Yeah.
It's a vacant lot now.
Yeah. Anybody else have some memories to share? Or questions, huh?
No, I haven't.
You haven't lived here long?
When did they move Huskies over to, where Flying J is?
I do not know that. That'll be in the next book.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
What's that?
In the 70s.
Don't write another book, I know.
Yeah, they moved there after this, but I remember, there is there about mid-70s.
Okay.
That was
And the Husky advertised that they had sleeping rooms for tired truck drivers.
I don't remember that, I wasn't a truck driver, so I wouldn't know.
Were they, it said they had that message on their placemats. They had sleeping rooms for tired drivers.
They were basically at least they were a restaurant.
Yeah. Before my time.
And there was, McDonald's built, we thought it moved uptown.
I'll bet. Fast food. Yeah. Do you folks students have to write a report or anything, or? A page? Oh my gosh. Well, how can they find this?
Well, they should have been listening.
Well, they were listening. They were.
No, I'm just joking. We're YouTube. Go to YouTube or our Facebook page at Rockpile Museum, both of them. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So refresh your memory a little
That's
bit
right.
and,
Easy extra credit.
get some details.
Other questions?
Don't forget to stop by the front desk and get your ticket shown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, stop at the desk. We'll give you proof that you were here.
Proof that you were here. Yeah.
All right, well, Mary has books. We have books for sale, so you can get those at the front desk. Mary will sign your book if you brought it with you. Any of the three versions, any of the three books, Cole, Gillette, or Campbell County Past and Present. So thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
All right, well.